Good morning, student. Myself, Dr. Shivaji Andhale, Department of Botany, S.V.K.T Arts, Science and Commerce College, Andahle Camp. On behalf of Maratha Vidya Prasad Samaj, Nasik. Dear student, today we will discuss about in a previous lecture about bryophyte. First introduction about bryophyte. Mostly these bryophytic plants. They are the autotrophic. They prepare their own food material, and these plants they can be grow in the worldwide. Then a general characteristic feature of the bryophyte. In a bryophyte, plant body is the thalloid. These thalloid structure, there is a well development of the root-like structure called the rhizoid. There are the two types of rhizoid, unicellular and multicellular, smooth scale and scaly rhizoids. These rhizoids they can be used for attachment of the substratum. The thalloid structure is the flat in structure, so they are the upright in position. These bryophytes are thornward. Then in these types, generally they are flattening in position, or this bryophytic plant they prepare their own food material. Hence, it is called as autotrophs. Bryophyte mostly known as amphibians. What is by amphibians? These plants they can be grow inside the water, and also they can be grow on surface of the terrestrial region. And these bryophytic plant they require the water for the complete of life cycle. Without water, they do not fertilization can be occurring to them. Then occurrence of the bryophyte. Bryophytes are occur mostly in a shady places. They can be grow in hill station, majority in the cold region. They can be occurring by bryophytic species. Then today's lecture we will discuss about the taxonomic position of the Marchencia, then morphology of the Marchencia, anatomy of Marchencia and reproduction of Marchencia. First, the introduction of the Marchencia. Now, this family is represented over about 215 different types of species. They can be distributed in India as well as in the worldwide. About these 215 species, there are about 23 genera. They are including in this 215 these species. The deep green plant body, deep green dorsal surface of the thallus structure. Thallus is a chamber. Chambers are present to store the reserve water molecule inside that chamber. Then air pore is a well developed on surface of this thallus structure of the Marchencia. The sex organs occur mostly in the dorsal surface, means above the thallus surface of the bryophyte. The female receptacle always in a stalk. They can be developing by the stalk at the basal portion. The male receptacle is a sessile. Means there is a stalk means there is a certain of this pedicel-like structure, sort of base-like structure can be developing by the female reproductive organ. But male reproductive organ they are the sessile. Without their base, they directly attach on the surface of the thallus structure. The sporangium, they are clearly distinguished into put, seta and capsule. The both spores and elater they can be developing inside that capsule. Capsule they can be dehiscence separated by of lead or by wall. Means at the marginal portion they can be dehiscence, they can be ruptured, and inside the spore they can be ooze out through outside. Grow in mostly in a moist places of the all Marchencia species. Then scientific classification or the classification of the Marchencia or distinguishing characteristic feature also kingdom Plantae. The plant they can be grow in thallus structure. They are the green autotrophic. Division is the Marchencia. Then class is the Marchencial. Order is the Marchencials. Then family is a Marchenciaceae and genus is a Marchencia. This is a systematic classification, or there are distribution which classified this Marchencia species into this in that manner. Means the kingdom, division, class, order, family and genus and species also. They are the very well picture of the Marchencia thallus structure. This is beautifully structured. Here the first picture is very beautifully the structure formation. These are these gymma cup. They are that primary middle portion is the formation of the gymma cup. And this Jimma cup, they are containing a Jimmy, and the Jimmy they can be also useful or beneficial for propagation of the vegetative reproduction. These are another photograph of this Marchencia. This is our portion. This is certain of the notch, certain of this apical notch is present at this Marchencia species. Then prominent midrib are also present in the Marchencia thallus structure, and it is a very well development of the lobe the Marchencia species. Jimma cup, they can be developing on this midrib in position of the thallus structure. Then apical notch can be also present to them. Then habitat and distribution of the Marchencia species. Marchencia is a prostate, they can be grow on surface of the soil, flattened in the position of this thallus structure. Dichotomously branch means each branch there is a formation of the two branches, hence called as a dichotomously branch. They can be developing of the thallus structure of the Marchencia. Found in mostly in the moist, cool, shady places. Mostly they can be grow without water. These Marchencia species do not survive to them, and hence they can be grow in moist places or cool places or shady places. The surface of the damp soil or moist soil, the stream, damp river and wet rock, these places they can be grow to them and attached by the substratum. Found these plants, they are found all over the world. Mostly these species they can be distributed in the all over the world, not only in India. About 215 species they can be distributed in the worldwide. About these 215 species, only 11 species are known in India, or they can be identified by Indian scientists. Mostly in a Himalayan region, most of the species can be occurring to them. 3 in other part of the India. 3 of the species of the Marchencia are distributed in the other part, with Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, UP, Bihar, and that type in that location they can be occurring to them. Then external structure of this Marchencia species, thallus is a very well developed on the dark, green, fleshy and flat. Means very dark in color, greenish in color, fleshy. There is a very thick their structure and flat. They can be grow at the surface of the soil. Dichotomously branch means thallus, each of the thallus structure they can be developing by 2 branches. Then dorsiventrally symmetry. There is a dorsiventrally symmetry that can be appear on this thallus structure. Thallus is the branch and lobe. Each thallus structure there is a formation of the branching and also formation of their 2 lobe of the each this Marchencia species. Broad, this thallus structure is very broad, very thick. Central their midrib, prominent midrib are also present of this thallus structure of this Marchencia species. Notch at the apex, apical notch. They are the present at the apex of the branching of the each of the Marchencia thallus. Notch located at the growing point where this plant or thallus structure they can be grow. At that point they are developing of the notch at the apical portion of the thallus structure. Upper surface of this polygonal area called as a areole, means air chamber, parenchyma are present, hence called as a areole in above surface of this thallus structure, and this areole there is also store the reserve water molecule. A little cup like structure called as a Jimma cup, they are the present, they can be developed at the midrib in position. Then another characteristic feature, these are plant, mostly they are the greenish in color, flat, multicellular bodies called as a Jimmy. This Jimmy structure is a multicellular and flat like structure, cup like structure. Hence it is called as a Jimma cup. Detached by the Jimma cup gives rise at a favorable condition into new individual plants. When at the time of vegetative reproduction, the Jimma cup they can be developing to them and they can be detached at the basal portion of the Jimmy, and they can be float out by a certain of the water molecule, and when at a certain of the distance at very they can be settled down and there is a favorable condition, the Jimma cup they start the germination and they can be developing into new individual plants. Thallus produce sexual stalk, there is the umbrella-like structure. With thallus of the sexual stalks, they can be developing in the umbrella-like structure of this female reproductive organ as well as the male reproductive organ. There is the umbrella-like structure of the Archiogoniate, they can be developing to them. These are called as a gametophore. That thallus structure called as a gametophore, and gametophore can be developing on the surface of this Marchencia thallus. This antheridophore and archiogoniaphore, both of them they can be developing to them on the surface of the thallus structure. So these are both of them they can be developing on the same plant. It is called the monoecious, and sort of the species they can be, these are antheridophore and archiogoniaphore, they can be developing in the different plant. It is called a dioecious plant. Mostly they are the monoecious plants. Both of the 6 organs they can be developing on the same plant but different their branches. Bear this antheridia and archiogonia. These are antheridophore, they can bear the antheridia, and archiogoniaphore they can bear the archiogonia. They are in a different their thallus. Mostly they can be developing in a different thallus. Suppose one thallus they can be developing by this archiogoniaphore or archiogonia, and another thallus they can be developing by the antheridophore or antheridia. Lower elongated, there is a single cell hair-like structure outgrowth called as a rhizoid. At the basal portion of the thallus structure, they can be developing single cell or multicellular structure. They can be developing called as a rhizoid. And this rhizoid, there is a generally 2 types of the rhizoid. Mostly smooth wall, and another is a tuberculated rhizoid. And these rhizoids they can be very useful or beneficial for the anchoring the substratum. And also they absorb the water and mineral molecule inside the soil also. The tuberculate or these plague rhizoids are thick, their wall structure are present in the tuberculate rhizoid. Smooth wall rhizoid, they are absorb the water and mineral molecule inside the soil. The scales are separate from the beginning. This scale, firstly they can be developing by scale-like structure, but they are after time, certain time duration, these are scale are separated at the time of the beginning. This is the vertical transverse section of the Marchencia. Or they are looking the very beautiful structure. Uppermost part called as a air chamber, air space are present. And these epidermal cell, upper epidermal cell is the presence of the air pore are present. This is the upper epidermal cell. And this epidermal cell is just below this upper epidermal cell is the presence of the photosynthetic filament or photosynthetic region. They prepare the own food material of this Marchencia thallus structure. And just below this photosynthetic filament or there is a filament, there is the presence of another cell. There is a very compactly arranged to them. It is called as a storage cell. When this photosynthetic region, they prepare the food material and they pass through the lower region called as a storage cell. And this storage cell, just by the ventral surface, there is the presence of their peg rhizoid, and it is called as a tuberculated rhizoid and smooth wall rhizoid, and scales are also present. These rhizoids they can be useful or beneficial for absorption of water and mineral molecule, and they can be attached to the substratum. Then internal structure of this Marchencia, they are a defined upper and lower epidermal cell. Just we will discuss about the upper and lower epidermal cell. Upper epidermal cell is the presence of the aperture, and lower epidermal cell is the presence of their photosynthetic region, also called as a storage region. Upper epidermal cell is photosynthetic region, and lower region is called as a storage region. Upper epidermis form the photosynthetic region. They prepare their own food material. Then slightly thicken outer their wall. Outermost cell is a very thick wall that compared to the inner side of the wall. The epidermal cells are found in a chloroplast. Epidermal cell, there is the presence of the chloroplast cell, and hence this chloroplast cell they can be useful or beneficial for the absorption of the, means that trapping the sunlight and preparation of their own food material inside that chloroplast. Then wall are waterproof. Outer as well as their external wall, there is a waterproof. There is a without any affected by this wall. Hence it called the waterproof in structure. Protecting in function, in the presence of the protecting layer, they can be developing on the uppermost layer of this Marchencia species. Epidermis are special barrel-shaped structure, or called as the air pore. There is a barrel-like structure you can be developing them by the upper epidermal cell, and this barrel-shaped structure is the presence of their storage also at a very empty space in the water molecule, and also air and space are also present, or air chambers are also present to them. And this upper epidermal cell, there is also special structure for preparation of their own food material. Each pore is surrounded by the 4 or 5 cells. Each of these pore, small aperture, is surrounded by 4 to 5 cells of the epidermal cell. pore wall lie there is a half below the epidermis. There is a half of this, there is a epidermis cell, they are present to them, and the star shape their channel, they are remain in open. The star shape structure of the upper epidermis cell, there is a presence of continuous, they are the open continuously. The stomata are always absent on surface of this Marchencia species. Then internal structure, photosynthetic region. We will discuss about the upper epidermis cell is called as a there is the presence of their small aperture, this is very compactly arranged cell, there is a protecting nature. This photosynthetic region beneath the upper epidermis cell, just below this upper epidermis cell, there is the presence of the photosynthetic region. They prepare their food material. From the floor of each chamber rise a photosynthetic filament. The photosynthetic filaments are present just below of this chamber, and photosynthetic filaments are they also present to them. This is a photosynthetic region, there is a maximum in a dim light, they prepare their own food material of this photosynthetic region. Then just below this photosynthetic region, there is the presence of the storage region, just below the photosynthetic region. And these cells are very compactly arranged to each other, and they can be stored the reserve food material of the Marchencia species. These cells are thick in center, uniform tissue made up of relatively large, and there is a colorless. Then isolated cell may be contain a single large oily body are also present inside that storage region. The former cell called as a oil body cell. The microbodies and system of the cytoplasmic tubules in the oil body cells are present inside that thallus structure. Then reproduction of the Marchencia. Marchencia can be reproduced into their two types. First is the vegetative type of reproduction, and second one is the sexual type of reproduction. We will discuss about the vegetative type of reproduction. First is the fragmentation. Second thing is the formation of adventitious branch. Third is the gymma formation. Then we will discuss about the one by one. Fragmentation, aging of the vegetative cell. The A cell in the rear or basal part of the thallus is a rot, or they can be decomposed, or they can be destroyed, and detached lobe by the apical growth, they are the dichotomy. These are, they can be detached, they can be separate, and each of this detachment lobe, they can be developed on this vertical surface. These branches, when they detach by decay into their new individual plant, they can be developing by this fragmentation process. Then next one is the gymma formation. Formation of the multicellular body called as a gymmi. This is a multicellular cup-like structure can be developing to them. They develop the upper surface of the thallus structure at the midrib position. They develop inside little shallow cup-like growth. And each of the gymma cup are small. They are the green disc-like structure, certain flat-like structure, and gymmi cup are the club-shaped mucilage here are present on this gymma cup. Water provided by fluid to get swell and get detached. Water is a very essential for remove of this gymma cup, and when this gymma cup, they can be removed, they can be detached out, and they can float certain of the distance, and these gymma cup, they can be propagated into their new individual plants. Then sexual reproduction, male and female thallus. They are the Archiogoniate formation, they are the Andhale formation. They are the male thallus and they are called as a female thallus. Sexual reproduction of the Marchencia. First is the position and distribution of the sex organ. The sex organ in Marchencia are born on the vertical branches of the thallus structure. Mostly in the vertical, I mean a dorsal surface, these branches they can be developing to them. Sexual branches are apical or terminal in position. Right sides, it is the groove, and outer side of the Marchencia species are, and Marchencia are mostly are unisexual. Means only one sex organ they can be developing on surface of this thallus structure of the Marchencia. So both male sex organ is called the male thallus plant, and female sex organ Archiogoniate they can develop into called the female thallus structure. We will discuss about the Andhale, the stalk bearing terminally as a disc or called as a receptacle. And 3 or 4 they form a disc-like structure they can be developing at the top or at the terminal. It is called as a receptacle. The stalk is a more or less cylindrical. They are the cylinder-like structure, more or less they are cylindrical structure they can be developing to them. On 1 to 3 there is a centimeter they are long. The length of this and 3 or 4 is a 2 to 3 centimeter long. Contain rhizode and scale. Inside there is the presence of the rhizode and scales are present. Male receptacle is a flattened lobe and disc. Male receptacle is a flat in position. They are the lobe in structure they can develop into them, and upper epidermis with their ear pore. Upper epidermis is the presence of their ear pore are present to them. Deeply sunk in the upper surface of the each lobe are the antheridia. Deeply sunk in the upper surface of the each of the lobe of the antheridia 4. Each antherium lie in the flask-shaped pit. The opening is called as the ostiole. There is a small aperture or flask-like structure called as the ostiole. Structure of the antherium. Antherium is an ovoid object rise on a short multicellular stalk. Structure of the antherium. The body of the antherial to be in the floor of the antherial chamber. The latter encloses a mass of androcyte mother cell are present to them. Each of the androcyte mother cell divide to form 2 androcyte or called as a sperm cell. This is the structure of the antheridophore. Longitudinal and cross section of the antheridophore. They are looking like in that manner. There is the rhizodal, the scaly structure in the basal portion, stalk of the antheridial disc, and our portion is the presence of the air chamber. That location they can be developing to them this air pore, osteoles. There is the opening of the antheridophore, and these are the antheridia, and these are another is the scaly of this antheridia. They are the present to them. There is the ostiole. They are a small opening called as the ostiole. There is the antheridial wall. And these are the called the antheridocyte mother cell. It means a huge amount of the antheridocytes are present, sperms are present to them inside that chamber or antheridial chamber, or it's called as the basal portion is called as a stalk. And these are the structure of this rhizoidal groove and rhizoid, they are the present to them. These are asymmetry filamentous and ear chamber and ear pores are present to them by this antheridophore. Development of the antheridium. First their upper cell and lower there is a first cell is divided and divided into their 2 cell structure. After the division there is a primary their anterior cell they can be developing to them, lower cell, and it is called as the primary stalk cell they can be developing to them. After the division are continuously and there is formed an antheridial cell, or called as the basal portion will be called as the stalk cell and lower cell, and is also they can be developing to them antheridial cell, and also it is called as the stalk cell. They can also divide and redivide by this meiosis, and lower their cell they can be developing to them. Then antheridial initial, then jacket they can be developing by the initial cell, and primary androspore cell they can be also divide and redivide, and at the basal portion called as the stalk they can be attached by the substratum. Ostiole, there is an opening, small opening of this antheriopore, and this is an Archiogoniate cell, and there is an antheridial wall and antheridial chamber they are present to them. And lastly their picture, there is a very beautiful structure. There is the opening called as the ostiole, and just below the ostiole there is the presence of their antheridial wall, and this antheridial wall they can be developing thousands of the androcyte mother cells are present to them, and these are called as the antheridial chamber. Then androcyte mother cell, there are stages of this spermatogenesis. First there is a blepharoblast, they are divide and redivide. There is the formation of this spindle-like structure they can developing to them. Then androcyte mother cell they can be dividing to them, and there is the formation of the nucleus structure are present to them, and there is the presence of the 2 their flagellated structure they are present to them. This flagella can be useful or beneficial for the locomotion of the one place to the another place. Student assignment, write the general characteristic feature of the Marchencia, write the reproduction of the Marchencia. Then today's lecture will discuss about the introduction of the Marchencia. Marchencia they can be distributed in the worldwide, they are the grow in the marshy places of this Marchencia species, and Marchencia they are the flat in structure, they can be dorsiventral in structure, smooth scale and scaly rhizoids they can be developing to them. This rhizoid can be useful or beneficial for the absorption of the water and mineral molecule. Then also they can detailed study of their distributed by their 215 different types of species in the worldwide, and they are including in the 23 their genera of this Marchencia species. Then external and internal character of the Marchencia. External structure of this Marchencia is the thallus grain disc-like structure, and they prepare the photosynthetic region, and is also storage region are they present to them. And this photosynthetic region, they prepare their own food material. There is the presence of the small upper epidermis, there is a smaller thallus structure, there is the aerian space, aerian chyma chambers are present to them, and upper epidermis cell, there is a developing by this reproductive organ, also they can be developing by this vegetative reproductive organ called a Jimma curve, fragmentation, they can be also developing to them. And internally the character of this Marchencia, there is a very well developing by the internal character is a upper and lower epidermal cell. Upper epidermal cell is the presence of their small opening, smaller chamber are present to them, and just below there is a star shape structure of the chamber, they can developing to them, they are continuously open, and just below this upper epidermal cell is the presence of their storage photosynthetic region. This photosynthetic region, they can be prepared by own food material, and just below this photosynthetic region there is called as a storage region. And also we will discuss about today lecture about the reproduction of the Marchencia. Marchencia can be reproduced by the two types of the reproduction, vegetative type of reproduction and sexual type of reproduction. In a vegetative type of reproduction is a fragmentation, then Jimma curve formation, and in a sexual type of reproduction there is a very well development of their sex organ called as Anthridia and Archiogoniate. The development of the female gametophyte, in our next lecture, female gametophyte, they can be developing in a new thallus structure of this Marchencia, and these female reproductive organ of female gametophyte is the formation of the umbrella structure on this apical notch of the Marchencia species. There is a development to them, there is a very long stalk of this basal portion of the female reproductive organ, and fertilization of the Marchencia. Marchencia can be fertilized to them. There is a very essential of water molecule. Without water molecule, Marchencia do not fertilize to them. The male reproductive organ, they can be developing by this two flagellated structure, and this flagella can be useful or beneficial for locomotion of the one place to another place from this male reproductive organ to their female reproductive organ of the ostiole, and they can be fertilized to them. Then life cycle of the Marchencia. Marchencia life cycle is there is a two types of generation, is the gametophyte generation and sporophytic generation. After completion of the gametophyte generation, they start their sporophytic generation. Sporophytic generation is the dominant over the gametophytic generation. We will stop here. Thank you so much.